Do you ever see a successful woman on your feed or in a magazine and think, wow, it must be nice to have it so easy? Well, think again. Behind that glossy cover or smiling face is a ton of hard work, countless failures, and endless learning experiences. I'm Rebecca Minkoff, and I'm here to tell you that success isn't a walk in the park. It takes grit, resilience, and a willingness to take risks. That's why I created Superwoman, a podcast that peels back the varnish and gets into the nitty-gritty of what it takes to make it as a woman in today's world. From luminaries and game changers to women you've never heard of but should, this podcast is here to inspire you to take your next leap, no matter how daunting it may seem. We'll explore the sacrifices these women have made, the highs and lows they've experienced, and the lessons they've learned along the way. So if you're ready to be inspired and learn from some of the most successful women out there, join me on Superwomen. Together, we'll uncover the stories behind the successes and prove that with hard work, determination, and a little bit of luck, anything is possible. Hey everyone, welcome to Superwomen. Today's guest is Julianne Fraser, the founder of Dialogue New York, the leading influencer marketing agency known for crafting impactful influencer strategies for luxury and lifestyle brands such as Sakara Life, Gia, Brooklyn Inn, Seed, Harry's, and Shiseido. First, we talk about her entrepreneurial journey, the shock to the system that was having 2 kids, managing 10 employees, and a crazy, insane time in the world. Then we go into the deep secrets that you need to build your business, how to build an influencer strategy that works, has ROI, creates brand awareness, and incredible sales. Take a listen if you need this kind of help. Julianne, welcome. I'm so excited to chat with you today.
Same here. Thank you so much for having me.
Before we started talking, you've had your own company, Dialogue, for 8 years. What were you doing before? And what made you say, okay, it's time to start my own agency?
So definitely wasn't my game plan to start my own company. But ultimately, I kind of fell into the world of social media 12, 13 years ago. I graduated from FIT young in my 20s. And the first job I could get out of school was in social media marketing at Ian Schrager Hotels. And so I kind of was dabbling and testing and trying in the world of social when nobody was paying attention and like Instagram had just launched. And it allowed me to get an early sort of expertise in this world and start to build relationships with a lot of the early stage influencers way back then. So, throughout my career, I was at Ian Schrager Hotels, and then I moved over to Lacoste to manage their digital communications. And then I joined a startup accelerator. And that's sort of where I started to work with early stage startups and kind of build out these strategies as to how influencer can support a brand that is just, raising their Series A, Series B. And after a few years at that small agency, I just felt there was an opportunity to do it myself. And so kind of took a leap of faith. It was just by myself. I hadn't launched anything. I think I had one PDF that outlined my scope. And it was all just referrals. My first client was an old boss of mine was at Shiseido, and she gave me like a 3-month contract that led into like 3 years. But it was very scrappy. And I thought, listen, I'm going to give this a shot for 3 months. And worst case scenario, I can always go back. And 8 years later, we're still here. We've grown to a team of 10 and really sort of expanded in this world. So it wasn't a intentional action 8 years ago.
What do you think about it that was in your deck that made this former boss take a chance? Because that's a huge company taking a big chance on someone who just like has a deck that was just starting. Yeah. And I feel like nowadays you never hear that.
Oh, it was never, I don't think it has anything to do with the deck. It was a pretty design, but 100% all relationships. And I mean, it's anyone who has been in the world of New York, as you know, it's all just, our reputation, integrity and relationships. So she's someone that had mentored me. We stayed close friends after I left Lacoste and, was just starting to kind of poke around at the idea of going off on my own and connected with a few people. And it wasn't just her, it was 2 other, friends in the industry that were like, okay, we'll give you a shot. And still to this day, 8 years later, 100% of Dialogue's roster and clients are referral. We don't do any outbound sales for our client base. And I think it's the exact same, fundamental kind of approach I took 8 years ago as today.
Do you think that the industry you chose, because of how quickly it changes, I feel like now it's changing every day, How do you look at terms of like challenges you face within the company and then hiring? Like you have to hire people that are quick to change, quick to adapt more than other industries, let's say accounting or tax preparation.
Yeah, of course. So I think hiring has by far been the most humbling experience of my 8 years, and I've made many mistakes, and have done some things right. I am very, very proud of our team retention. We've had some team members for 5 years, 6 years, the vast majority going on 3 or 4. So I think I fumbled my way through it and figured it out. But at its core, interestingly, our philosophy and approach to influencer has remained steadfast since day one. And it's really this belief that no matter what technology comes around, platforms, new social media sites, all the different apps and whatnot, it never changes from the fundamental aspect of authenticity and relationships, which are buzzwords and everyone's talking about it. But we've been saying this from day one of we help our clients identify the right partners that really are brand aligned with them and nurture these relationships through thoughtful strategies that really build them into ambassadors of the brand. And there's so many different ways we can do that across all the various platforms, podcast, Substack, TikTok, Instagram. But at its fundamental sort of base, it's about who is really aligned with the brand values, passionate about what you're doing, and who can really be an advocate in the long run. And so taking that approach, across all of our clients, we're lucky to have, worked with a lot of our clients for many years. Sakura, 3 years, Seed, 4 years, Little Spoon, we're going on 7 years with them. And I think it's because of that nurturing of these influencer relationships year over year and building a really, really strong engine that's driving incredible returns and not approaching it from that like performance lens from day one, approaching it from the basis of relationships. So I think that's what we believed in day one. And I've seen how the industry has shifted there. I'd say 3 years ago, it was all about making it a performance engine focused on, certain KPIs for every single influencer campaign. And it's kind of the pendulum has swung back to be more brand marketing focused. But through it all, I think that, that approach has remained the same. So when I'm hiring and training and mentoring team members, it's very much about digital strategy. And then we have different ways to stay up to date with all the innovations and changes, which honestly is a weekly basis at this point. But I think if we remain focused on the digital strategy for our clients, that's sort of what's kept us, strong all these years, I think.
So you mentioned your Achilles heel, which was hiring. And I'm curious, clearly you started this with you were able to do strategy, concept, do the work. And I'm going to assume that now some of your day is mired in the day-to-day things that most people starting a company don't realize, oh, now this is on me. Do you still get to strategize and pitch, or have you learned to love the lane of like the CEO?
Yeah, so this is something that I'm so grateful. I've worked with my business coach, Ben Easter, for like 3 years, 4 years now. And I think that's something that he has really helped me evolve into. And honestly, my first maternity leave forced me into delegating and empowering my team. There were so many stories I was telling myself that I am the only one that clients want to, they want to see my face on every single call. I have to be involved in every single strategy. I have to review every pitch that goes out to make sure it's aligned with her. And working with him, I started to really identify the right team members, empower them with certain kind of growth trajectories that are very different than typical agency models. And it was so eye-opening, I'd say about 4 years ago, just to see how much better they are all than I am at all of this. And so I have one team member who's so phenomenal with client management, overseeing our team, and top level strategy. I have another who's an expert at negotiations and she loves just being in the weeds of banging out deals. I have another who's like obsessed with systems and developing ways to automate it. So empowering all of them, we were able to develop proprietary systems that help us execute, $500,000 of deals on a monthly basis, because using AI, we can click a button and handle the contracts and the invoicing and the creative brief and all of that. But had I not empowered her to really like shine, and had I controlled that, we never would have, scaled up. So I think 4 or 5 years ago, I was able to get out of the day-to-day of sort of the execution, and my role today is really focused on the growth of the agency, really kind of the mentorship and leadership of my team, which I am so passionate about, less about the day-to-day management, but just kind of training and really inspiring them to grow within their own realms, and new business. And that's sort of the final crux, which I'm still tied to directly, and the company is still directly held. I'm held kind of, and I know working with Ben, I'm trying to think of ways that I can find someone that I can, have support on from a sales perspective, but it's still something that, because everything is referral and relationship based, I'm still heavily involved in. So it's been an evolution, but you're so right. I mean, waking up one day and being like, holy, I have to do like invoices and financial planning. Like, I'm not an accountant. This is not like, my forte, and starting out as a marketing strategist and evolving into a consultancy, it was really eye-opening, all the different roles I had to play along the way.
Was there ever a moment when you were like, oh, this is too hard, I'd rather just work at an agency and close my eyes? Or were you like, I'm in it with all the challenges, no matter what?
I think this last, like my second daughter is 7 months old. I think this last 7 months has been the biggest challenge of my 8 years. As a result of my second maternity leave, the TikTok ban, the inauguration, the tariffs, there's been so much volatility in our industry, and a lot of shifts and changes from my clients' budget allocation and plans and strategies. And so interestingly, along the way, it's taken to like year 8 to really test and challenge me more than ever before. But even in those moments where, being an entrepreneur, there's a lot of pressure. I'm taking care of my family, and I'm taking care of a team of 10, and there's a lot of responsibilities. But I kind of had this realization that I love it, even in the depths of when I was like really stressed about, losing clients and shifting our scopes and adapting to the ever-changing like social media landscape. I really love the chaos and the shit and the challenges. And so I think it was really eye-opening to me. I would never go in-house, and I couldn't. I think the hunger I have of continuing to grow the company and evolve it, and also the autonomy of having just especially as a mom, being able to choose my schedules and really adapt to my family life is invaluable to me. So it comes with a lot of pressure and responsibilities and stress, but I wouldn't change it. I wouldn't go in-house.
So talk to me about child number 2, the timing of that, almost breaking you. What did you learn in that process? Why do you think it was number 2 that broke you versus 1?
Yeah, well, I can't even imagine number 4. So
number 4 didn't break me.
No, I'm like
helpers. I had three babysitters, so there was no break.
Is that the trick? Okay, yeah, 1 to 2 was wild. Oh my God. Yeah, my first was. It was a really amazing evolution of dialogue, because, like I said, it forced me. I took a 5-week maternity, which could barely be considered maternity leave, but I'm very grateful for that. And by stepping out, I kind of made myself obsolete. I came back and I was like, "Hey guys, like, do you need me? Like, what are we checking in on?" And they were so empowered and so passionate, and it gave them a sense of confidence because they had to really step up in that moment. So the first one actually was a very exciting, and the company grew like tenfold coming back after my maternity. I was scared the whole thing was going to crumble, and it just, took off. The second one's timing was very interesting, and it was like a confluence of so many different factors. She was born September 21st. And in our world, like, as you know, budget allocations, marketing strategies, everything solidified for 2025 in September. And so I'm heavily involved in those annual strategies, our audits, our renegotiations, everything. And I was trying to front load it in August, and it just was impossible because
talk about it. Right.
No, everyone was on holidays. So yeah. I think that was a very unfortunate timing. And then, we had our strongest year ever in 2024, as many brands did. And I kind of, being 9 months pregnant wasn't on my networking roadshow, so to speak. I was just taking it easy. So when things had, shifted and changed, I had to get back to connect with my network. And that was the first thing I did. As soon as things destabilized, I just coffees, lunches, connected with people, asked, what was going on in their worlds. And it was phenomenal. In the span of like 3 weeks, I was able to win 6 clients within that time frame, which nobody's really allocating budgets between November and December, but it was a huge challenge. It proved to me that I can navigate these times, but also I think, and not to mention on a personal note, my husband went back to school after so many years. My toddler went to school for the first year. So it was just like this shitstorm of so much all at once. And I think I'm still learning from it. But it's kind of exciting to see again how the company has evolved, because had I not had that happen, we had to get creative. We came up with new services. We identified where brands were allocating budget, and we came up with specific scopes, and we're able to really scale up and make back anything that was lost and then some. So really exciting in the long run, but in the moment, holy shit, that was a huge challenge.
I like, as you talk through those moments, I'm like, want to throw up for you, because I know what that's like. And I know it's so shitty, because you're losing business or lacking relationships on the basis that you can't physically, you're there to take care of a baby. And you're like, do I care for a baby or do I grow my business? And that's the shittiest choice a woman has to make ever.
Yeah, it's horrible. It's
horrible.
Really...
And it's like, you can say it's not fair, but they're never going to get pregnant. So that's just how it is. And I wish things were built differently.
No, 100%. And I think it's the price, you pay for being an entrepreneur when you're starting a family. And I think, like I said, the benefits of being able to work remotely, choose my schedule, be at every single doctor appointment, take time off when I want to take off time, I would never change that for the world. But that also comes with, to your point, shit hit the fan. I think she was 4 weeks old, and I had to, in my postpartum haze, get my shit together and just start relying on people. But also it was such an eye-opener on the power of my network and relationships. I think there's this notion for people that, your network is, you can seek opportunities off of it. I wasn't asking for any help. I was just connecting with my friends, finding out what was going on, sharing my experience with them. And it was unbelievable of, hey, I know somebody who's looking for this, or, our brand isn't investing in brand marketing, but we're allocating a lot of money in UGC. Maybe there's an opportunity if you talk to our performance teams. It was just one thing after the other. And so literally going back to how I started the business 8 years ago, it's the exact same notion of just leaning into people and, supporting their endeavors, and likewise, doing the same. And I think that's the magic of New York. My husband and I moved to Paris for a couple of years and dabbled in that. And nothing's like New York, I found. It's just, it has a vice grip on us, at least, because the power and the energy of people supporting one another here, I think, is so unique.
It's true. It's like nowhere else. So let's transition now, because I feel like one of the things that I liked about the opportunity to interview you is demystifying, where things are with influencer marketing. You've worked with brands like Sakara, Gia, Brooklyn and Seed, Harry, Shiseido. You've been recognized by Adweek's Creative 100 and Digiday's Content Marketing Award. So that's no easy feat. And I feel like today, this whole world is moving so fast. You don't know where to spend your money. If I were to start a new brand from scratch, I would be like, oh, part of the reason why I don't want to start one is I know what's needed. And I'm like, I wouldn't even know where to go. So can you sort of give us where the landscape is and how a brand that's looking to utilize influencer can win? Because to me, it feels very divided. I'm either hiring you for brand awareness, or there's specific KPIs that you're going to hit because people click and buy. Bad example, I was in talks with a brand. They were going to hire me. It was a health product. And they're like, we need to see 1,000 clicks on the link. I was like, but I have 30,000 followers. No one's,
exactly.
Like that's crazy metrics. So for even me, I was like, this whole thing is a little bit lopsided.
Yes,
So
totally. I mean, I think so there's sort of three kind of key approaches to it, and always have been. So one, there's a lot of PR firms and publicists that understand the importance of relationships and creativity in the world of influence marketing. Sometimes there won't be a tie to direct returns or ROI from it because it's very, brand marketing based. On the other side of the spectrum, there's tons of performance marketing agencies that have shifted because Meta and SEO and all these, traditional performance tactics are not working in the way they used to, funneling their money into influencer and managing this tactic as they would any other performance with strict KPIs, and without a brand marketer behind the helm of these partnerships, you get these cringeworthy hashtag ad. We've all seen it. We've swiped through it. And in the center, there's tons of platforms that have evolved. Creator IQ, Tribe Dynamics, 4Card, tons of them that try to automate influence marketing. And so with the click of a button as a brand, you can reach out to thousands of creators. But the challenge there is the curation of those influencers are really challenging to nail, like I mentioned before, the kind of values alignment that are key to strong partnerships, and also the type of creators you want to work with don't want to get these generic blasted emails. So we take a hybrid approach, and we really believe in sort of a multi-layered approach to influencer marketing. So for all of our clients, we are gifting and seeding creators, micro to mid-tier influencers, say 40 to 50 every month, to build this always-on UGC coming through the door, swell and brand awareness, and starting to initiate relationships from that. You should not be paying a creator if they've never even used your product in the first place. Like if you've never tried seed probiotics, we're not going to pay you for a campaign. And it's shocking the amount of brands that the common sense of that. So the base level of this gifting and seeding program. Then on top of that, we've launched what we call Studio D. There's a huge demand for really strong UGC content from brands, whether it's TikTok style, like outfit contents or get ready with me, or lifestyle imagery for a Substack. Brands are really in need of great quality content, and the best performing on social platforms is UGC. So we will kind of curate a custom studio for our clients to follow very clear briefs and produce a database of assets. We don't care if the creators have 1,000 followers. We don't care about their engagement. It's really about their ability to create content. So that's sort of layer 2. 3 is what we kind of define as like this tastemaker offline influence. So we'll work hand in hand with our clients' PR teams to, feature tastemakers in a blog for the brand, or host intimate events with the founders, whatever it might be, developing a really strong offline program, because that is essential. Yes, we care about impressions, engagements, clicks, but the power, especially in the world that we're in and potential TikTok bans and whatnot, people are really hungry for connection and community, and that there's no better way to do that than leaning into influencer relationships. And then finally, the top kind of layer to our cake is the paid influencer campaigns. And so, our clients will invest anywhere from $25,000 a month up to one client's investing over $1 million a month in influencer spend. And we have developed proprietary systems, like I mentioned earlier, to be able to execute all of the non-human aspect of these campaigns, so we can manage a really high volume. So, contracts, red lines, invoicing, content, creative briefs, whatnot. But we are still handling all of the curation of partners. We're developing custom scopes. So if someone just launched a podcast, if someone's on Substack, if someone's on YouTube, we're not doing these cookie cutter campaigns across hundreds of creators. We're working one-to-one with each influencer, their agent, and also developing a really unique narrative and campaign to break through the noise. And I know something that is really important to you with that was a big focus of your book, is the importance of creativity. I think it's missing in this world of influencer marketing, and it's the fault of everyone, marketers, agents, influencers. But the essential aspect, if any brand wants to succeed at influencer marketing, is taking time to genuinely come up with narratives and campaigns and creative, topics that break through the social noise. And so it's not enough to just spend $1 million and engage thousands of creators, give them one cookie cutter brief, and expect that to drive returns. It just will not work. So we're really, really focused on really not only developing thoughtful, unique campaigns in a paid capacity, but also re-engaging and building these people into long-term ambassadors. So it's from this kind of multi-layered approach that we develop. I call this halo effect. And it's music to my ears when people are like, oh, I've seen Built everywhere. I've seen Brooklinen or Sakara or Seed. It's because of all of these multiple touch points and unique influencer relationships.
Are you building those out all at once? Is it all happening at once, or do you first start with the seeding and then a month later you go into the next layer and then it sort of builds from there?
Yeah, I would say it takes about a 3 month to get the flywheel rolling of our strategy phase, and then gifting and seeding and negotiating with agents and getting content live. So at the 3 month mark, we'll start to kind of get that momentum. But truly, the reason why we've worked with so many brands for multiple years is because, every quarter we're assessing what worked, what didn't, what's changed in our landscape, and how can we constantly evolve it. So at 6 months, you start to build momentum, at 1 year, at 2 years. And it's not that the layers have to be done sequentially. We do it kind of all at once and start to build the momentum of the cake all at once. But it's pretty magical. I think Little Spoon, if you're familiar with this baby food brand, it's unbelievable, the impact, because we've been working with these mom influencers for 7 years, and they've fed baby blends, toddler meals, snacks to the authenticity behind their love of Little Spoon. You cannot pay for that. And the engine that we've been able to create is just unbelievable over the years because of, all the various different ways we're working with creators and the narratives that we're working with for each partnership. So it can become a very, very powerful performance engine, but it should not be approached with that in the first 30 days. It's kind of a recipe for disaster.
Right. So what do you think of the companies like a ShopMy or a LTK, where I'm on ShopMy, I can offer X amount to certain people and target them, hope they click? Do you think that for a new business that's a good way to do it if they don't have the budget for, let's say, an agency like you?
Totally. Well, my recommendation when earlier stage startups come to us is a lot of this can and should be done in-house. So to get the initial flywheel and relationships, I don't recommend, brands invest in our retainer off the bat, because I think there's so much that can be done, whether by the founder or a marketing team member reaching out one-to-one and building and establishing those relationships. When you start to enter into the world of ShopMy and sort of the affiliate strategy, that's another layer to the program. And it should really be managed by someone who has a performance background, performance marketing, and also generally the most successful affiliate programs are managed in-house. So I can give you an example, like Sakara is a really powerful Sakara Circle affiliate program, Seed University, unbelievable affiliate program. An affiliate and an influencer are not always the same. So identifying the right partners, like for Sakara, for example, it was doctors and nutritionists who didn't even have a social following that are some of their greatest performing affiliates. So I think a lot of people think, okay, we've gifted and seeded, we've built this influencer program, let's give them all codes and just turn them into affiliates. And it doesn't work that way. It can actually really sever relationships. And also, if you're forcing a creator to talk about a promo when that's not natural to their community, it can kind of have the opposite effect. So affiliate is unbelievable and definitely a very strong strategy, but I think it needs to be done in tandem with a performance marketing brand and performance marketing hand in hand, and also with the resources to nurture those relationships. It's not about just giving someone a code and hoping they'll post and drive. A lot of the brands that we're working with are re-engaging these people, incentivizing them. Sakara does these events with their network of, Melissa Wood will host an event for all the affiliates or whatever it might be. And they're giving benefits to the partner above and beyond a commission and dollar amount. And I think that's what is key to driving the success for affiliates.
So it's not only a community from the customer standpoint, it's a community of affiliates, it's a community of ambassadors, it's a community of influencers that you're constantly establishing and maintaining.
Exactly. And I think this is where our strategy comes in, because it's so essential you take a unique approach for every bucket. Because if someone is a full-time content creator, their job and their career is managing their YouTube channels and their TikTok and whatnot, what they're incentivized is going to be incentivized by is completely different than someone who might be a tastemaker, they might be a founder, an activist, an athlete, and they've amassed a following as a result of their, careers, but they're not doing this as a full-time job. So you have to understand, how can you benefit their endeavors, their businesses, and take a very different approach. And likewise, experts is a huge bucket too. So for a lot of our clients, it's like makeup artists or doctors or nutritionists that have strong YouTube followings. How you pitch someone who is an influencer and a doctor is going to be so different than how you pitch a lifestyle creator on TikTok. So there has to be that strategic layer, and it can't be this cookie cutter approach, which I think a lot of these platforms are trying to automate. And it's just, the platforms are helpful as a tool to manage these relationships, but can't be relied on, for everything.
So that then brings in, well, then you can't really use AI to also figure this all out for you because it isn't cookie cutter.
Yeah. And I think AI, we're not afraid of AI. I think AI is a really incredible tool. It's allowed us, all these systems I was speaking about, we've leveraged AI. So what we used to, back in the day, to manage an influencer campaign, you'd have a Word document contract, send it to the agent, red lines back, complete it, PDF it, sign it, and then we would send a PDF, create a brief, and then they would send over the assets by email. We'd have to download it. There were 18 different touch points, and it was so not efficient. And so we developed, leveraging AI, ways that this can all be automated. So it's unbelievable. And it's allowed me to not have to hire, 20 people to manage the workload because of the systems we've developed. But I'm a firm believer that creativity and, uniqueness that's so essential to break through the noise on social, it comes from human experiences. It comes from offline influence, from movies, from films, from travel, from food. That cannot be replicated by AI. And we can, leverage AI to kind of use it as a tool to brainstorm. But I'm really passionate about this, so much so that all of my team every month gets a creative morning, and their only narrative is they have to get offline and do something that inspires them. So they'll go for a nature walk, or they'll go to museums, or they'll read the New York Times from front to back for the whole morning. And it's pretty unbelievable, the ideas that come to our brainstorms after a morning like that. So I think we have to kind of preserve that human creativity, or else we're all just going to be copy cutter, replicated by this powerful algorithm. Everybody's clothes look the same, their outfits look the same, their makeup, their recipes, their home. It's all becoming so homogenous. And I think brands have to empower their teams to get inspired offline so that we can actually differentiate.
Become fearless and focused in pursuit of your dreams. In my book, Fearless, The New Rules for Unlocking Creativity, Courage, and Success, now available in paperback, I share personal stories and practical advice I've learned along the way in pursuit of my own, in fashion world and in my personal life. I talk about how persistence and courage have been the keys to my success. I share my journey of building a company and the challenges I've faced along the way. By refusing to give up and constantly stepping out of my comfort zone, I was able to break through the unspoken rules that have held women back for far too long. My hope through writing this book is to encourage you to face your own fears and take risks when going for your own goals. Fearlessness is a choice, and we all have the power to make it. The book is now available in paperback, including updated content and a new bonus chapter. Not that you have the answer to this, but I feel like you just said everything is so homogenous. So when I open my feed, it's get ready with me. It's a makeup tutorial. It's a mom, even my content. I'm like, there's got to be something else. I could do the advice. I could do the makeup. I could do the, here's my outfit, but Jesus Christ, everyone's doing it, And
Identical. So yeah.
What do you see out there that's innovative or creative, or maybe with any of the clients you've had that you've been like, all right, this is what everyone's doing. Here's where we're going to go the other way.
Yeah, I mean, and it's kind of a catch-22, because for creators, they are incentivized to jump on the trends because their content will show up for you, or will achieve greater engagement. So it's so hard to break away from that and try and test new things if the algorithm isn't going to support it. So it's really challenging. But I think one example, again, like Little Spoon, because they're such a wonderful client of ours, their chief brand officer came to us a year and a half ago and we're launching this notion of Lunchables. And if you remember back in the day, eating like Dunkaroos and Lunchables and all the crap, they reinvented Lunchers, this new platform of organic, healthy, kids meals, but with the kind of not nostalgia for millennial parents. And so they came to us with this great notion of like, okay, the message is so much has changed since the 90s. How come your food, food that you serve your children hasn't? And so we took that and started to build sort of this multi-layered strategy. We engaged Melissa, Joan Hart of Sabrina the Teenage Witch. We got Urkel. We had Dawson from Dawson's Creek. We created a whole launch campaign moment. Then we engaged sort of macro mom influencers, a huge, high volume of tastemakers and mid-tier, and then like 500 gifted collaborators, and all laddered up to this huge launch moment and drove over $30 million in sales in the first 30 days. No other tactic was used other than influencer marketing. It got great press and buzz. And it was because we had this epic message and creative campaign that was driven by Karen, their chief brand officer, and working in tandem with them. The creators, the influencers were excited to jump on this. The comments, the engagement of their target consumer, the millennial parent who totally can relate to all of these, it was powerful. So like every single campaign we do, we try and just replicate that of like, what is this? What is the notion? What's the partnership? Like, what's the messaging hierarchy that can break through this and get influencers excited, because they're getting thousands of pitches a week. And so how do you actually inspire them? And it's through a creative campaign that will, be connected to them in some way.
I like that you touched on the Lunchables. As a millennial mom, my kids want Lunchables so bad and I refuse. I'm like, no, until there's something better, we are not doing it. So
no, exactly. And the Dunkaroos, I was obsessed with them. But now, Little Spoons improved it all. So we don't have to worry about it anymore.
That's perfect. What is a great piece of advice that you'd like to pass on that someone gave to you or you learned the hard way?
I think it's very like rudimentary, but kind of rare, sadly, in our industry and in New York, just the power of integrity in business. And I think, especially going through challenging times like this, I see, clients who aren't paying invoices on time or aren't paying their team or, not paying creators or whatnot. And I just feel at its core, my number one value in life, but also Dialogue's value, is integrity. And I think that is what will help you weather the storm in challenging times, to have that great reputation, to have that respect. And it takes so long to build up and a split second to fall. And I see that with a lot of, the team members that I'm hiring and mentoring, sort of this, like, there's a forgetfulness around the importance of showing up with integrity, even as an intern, day one. And I spot that with our interns, and I channel them into growth trajectories. And so many of my team members have started as an intern, have grown with me. And I think I can spot that value, and it's just so important. And I think, it's something that I will always, there's moments where, that will be tested in business along the way. There's always an easier, faster, cheaper route. And I think just always staying true to what I can, go to bed knowing that I did what is in alignment with my values is so critical. So I think that would be it.
I love that. And my next question is, what would we be surprised to know about you?
4 years ago, I did a 1-month intensive cooking course at Ferrandi, one of the best cooking schools in the world. It's in Paris. I've always loved cooking. I love food. My husband's French. I've been with him for 12 years, and he's from the south of France, like the mecca of food. And I've watched his family in how they host and how they cook. And I, decided just after the pandemic that I would take this on and take this course. And so still very much just a home cook and dabbling my way in messing up recipes along the way. But it's such a passion and something I love doing. I love having like 10, 15 people over, cooking like 5-course meals for them. Nothing makes me happier. And also my daughters are my little sous chefs, and it's exciting to see them kind of support and help. So and it goes back to like the importance of offline inspiration. That is so my creative outlet when I'm having a stressful day, just cooking a meal. It's like how I can process a challenge or work through any sort of problem solving. So, yeah, never know.
How did you take a month off?
I didn't. It was pre-kids, so I tricked the time difference in Paris. So I was going to my classes at like 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. or 3 p.m. and then 3 p.m. to 9 a.m. in New York. So then I would get online and work. It was only for a month and I probably burnt myself out and it was exhausting, but it was so enriching for the soul. It felt so good.
That's a dream of mine. So I was like, how do I hack the system?
Yeah. I mean, honestly, and it was my husband that pushed me because he was like, you got to do this. Like, I think until you have someone that literally will, for me at least, I'm very kind of conservative in decisions. I'm like, no, that's not going to work, whatnot. But kind of proves the power of just like take the leap and try it out. It was so much fun.
Love it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I just wanted to thank you guys for listening to today's episode. I also want to ask you to rate and review the show wherever you listen to podcasts. I know it's a pain in the butt, but it actually helps with search and algorithms. So if you love this podcast, it is an easy way to get it more visible and out there. I also want you to follow me on Instagram at Rebecca Minkoff, at RM Superwomen, and be sure to check out my book, Fearless, The New Rules for Unlocking Creativity, Courage, and Success. Thank you again, and you will hear from me next week.